Oh.
What?
Okay. Oh my god.
What? Wow.
No way. No.
What? No.
Okay. Oh my god.
Someone murders Bruce Wayne in Wayne Tower. You shot Batman in the Batman logo and it killed him?
You could have at least waited till he was on a park bench before you took him out like that.
Shut up, Dave.
Whenever I made my video on the first season of Titans, I got a lot of comments saying that this wasn't actually the worst superhero show of all time. Gotham Knights was the worst superhero show of all time. Now, before this moment, I had never seen Gotham Knights, seen any review of Gotham Knights, and actually, honestly, I kind of forgot Gotham Knights existed. It's the CW trash that stayed in the bin for me, and I never really had any sort of gauge on how terrible it would be compared to Titans, and I really thought Titans was the worst superhero show of all time. As we all know, whenever a critic says something is the worst thing of all time, they're always telling the truth. Which is why Gotham Knights is also the worst superhero show of all time. Oh my god. I want to make it clear up front, I did not hate watch Gotham Knights. I survived Gotham Knights. It was like a battle. It was one of the few moments where I had to actively force myself to keep watching, because usually when I see a really terrible show, I'm excited to get into it, to see all the things that are wrong. But here I was just like, please stop. Turn it off. Make the pain go away. But there is no respite from pain in hell. Which is why I'm forced to say hello, everyone. Welcome to Dead Topics, the show where we talk about whatever we want, whenever we want, for as long as we want. I'm your host, Dave, and you're still in hell. Now, the same issue I had with Titans exists here, that being Warner Brothers' legal strike team ready to kick down my door the second I showed 2 minutes of footage from Gotham Knights of all things. So I have to be very sparing with the footage I show you, and there's a lot that I want to show you, but I'm really worried that this video is going to get taken down, or it's not going to make any money, or it's going to get suppressed in the algorithm. So I'm going to have to use a lot of stills, trailer footage, and clips that are already up on YouTube, which really limits how much I can show you, but do you really want to see? Really? Because there are some things in this show that have to be seen to be believed. I can't just tell you and expect you to believe me, because I'm going to sound like a schizophrenic. Like when I tell you that one of the main heroes tases and kidnaps a senior citizen, throws them in a trunk of a car, drives them over a speed bump multiple times, takes them to a warehouse, and then begins suffocating them to torture them. And also Robin was just kind of sitting there, and then there was like a life lesson somewhere at the end. I didn't make that series of events up. That was real. They actually did that. But if I just say that out loud, it sounds like the ramblings of a crazy person, which is what the writing feels like. I'm telling you, officer, I'm not crazy. They actually put that in the script. Now, I'm going to try my best to describe the plot, so spoiler alert, and if anything doesn't make sense to you, that's because you have a functioning brain. So Gotham Knights takes place in, you guessed it, Gotham, a city well known for bats, crime, and that's about it. Everyone's favorite superhero, Batman, is playing a very major role in this story as a corpse. Because Batman dies off-screen, and that is the major kickoff event for the entire story. DC currently has a weird fascination with just killing Batman very frequently. It doesn't matter how popular or how much money Batman makes them, they are very eager to kill him at every given opportunity. Whether it be being killed on park benches or being chucked out of windows or what the hell even happened in Batwoman, they just want Batman dead a lot. At least Gotham Knights, the video game, had the balls to show Batman actually dying and sacrificing himself to stop Ra's al Ghul. That was somewhat interesting. Not that that game was, that great otherwise, but still. So Batman's dead, but don't worry, the Gotham Knights are here to save the day and take his place. So why don't we talk about the main group, the Gotham Knights, the city's vigilantes who've come together to help solve the mystery of Batman's murder and do whatever else it is they do. Kidnapping grandmas, mostly. Why don't we just go through some of these knights and see if we could figure out what they're all about. First off, Turner Hayes. If you've never heard of Turner Hayes before, that's because he was made up for this show. He is Batman's adopted son. That's right, the show doesn't have Dick Grayson or Damian or anybody else who's actually one of Batman's sons. They made an entirely new son for some reason, probably something to do with licensing or characters they're allowed to use or something, I don't know. And Turner is boring, really boring. He is in no way an interesting character at all, and he's also kind of confusing. There is an issue in the writing that revolves a lot around the characters that I will have to talk about now. I wanted to save it for later, but it's best to start with Turner and get this out of the way. Characters in this show are super soldiers, for no reason. Characters like Turner will pull skills out of their ass constantly and give the lamest excuses as to why they have them. Every single one of the Gotham Knights is a master hacker, fighter, swordsman, ninja, and there's really no reason as to why they should be skilled at all of these different things despite being the age of a peanut. You see, Turner is unique because unlike someone like, I don't know, Dick Grayson or Tim Drake, he was never actually trained by Batman. In fact, he had no idea that his father was Batman. Now, we get hints that Batman was kind of secretly training him, like teaching him situational awareness or some shit like that, but we never get a full experience of what kind of training he got, if any. Maybe some basic martial arts and fencing skills, but that does not give an excuse for the crazy shit that he does later. He will go toe-to-toe with top-tier assassins, people who have centuries of experience, and just sword fight them one-on-one with no issue. I have to say this because I am really sick of this dumbass excuse being thrown in tons of movies and shows, but a few months of martial arts training does not make you a super soldier or a super ninja. Any martial artist will tell you that that shit can take years, if not decades, to learn how to do really well, and even then you can never know what's going to happen in a fight. This is why it's always annoying to me in media when characters take maybe like a few months of martial arts training and are suddenly fighting on par with top-tier assassins or people who have been doing it for decades. It makes the villains look babyish and stupid when they're getting outclassed by a literal child who has barely any combat experience at all. That may be able to fly in like a cartoon or a goofy comic book, but this is a show that's trying its hardest to be very realistic and have gritty violence and stuff like that, so it really doesn't work as well. When you see a kid Robin throwing batarangs and knocking grown men on their ass, it's kind of funny and it's a cartoon so that can fly there, but this is supposed to be realistic and it is just really dumb. And I think the reason they did this was just simple, lazy writing. Turner needed to be really skilled really quickly because this story takes place on a very short time frame. He didn't receive any training from Batman, so the best they can do is come up with a few lame excuses and just throw him out into the field and have him fight people. He does not have decades to train or to practice, so they have to fast track his success really quickly to a point where it's comedic. He isn't allowed to have character growth in the form of him becoming stronger over time because he's already a god right away because he needs to be. The show constantly tries to tell us that he's new to this and he's like, oh, this is too dangerous, or oh, I could have gotten killed if you didn't help me. But on screen, he's just going absolutely insane fighting super ninjas like it's no big deal. The show is telling us one thing but showing us a completely different thing. I'll go into this a bit more with some of the other characters, but for right now, why don't we go over what Turner's going through. So, his dad just died, and on the same day he finds out that his dad is actually Batman, which is a huge reveal for him. Although, judging by the fact that Batman's security is super shitty in this show, it's kind of surprising he hasn't figured out already. Now, the other Gotham Knights, who we'll talk about in a bit, get framed for Batman's murder, and Turner gets framed for paying them to kill Batman. So the story that is being given by the police is that Turner got written out of Batman's will, allegedly, and he decided to pay those 3 Gotham Knights to go kill him. So instead of hiring like a career assassin, he hired 3 children to go do it, which doesn't make any sense, but I guess the public buys that. So basically all the Gotham Knights, with exceptions for a few, get framed for the murder and now are on the run from the police. So Turner now has to solve the murder while also figuring out things about his dad that he didn't know, like he was Batman and all the things he did. And that could have been interesting, but they actually go a completely different direction with it, which is, oh boy. So spoiling the twist now, because this doesn't get revealed until like very late into the series, Turner's actual parents were assassins, because of course they were. They were assassins that were paid to kill Batman, so they go to kill Batman, but then Batman just fucking kills them. So I guess the no-kill rule's out. He just kills Turner's parents, and then he feels bad about it, so he goes and adopts Turner out of pity because he murdered his parents because they were assassins. And Turner figures this out, but doesn't figure out the part that they were assassins until later. So now he hates his dad, and it is... God, it's so dumb. It is like a big plot twist that comes out of completely nowhere, and... Okay, it gets worse, actually, because Robin actually covers this up from Turner, like, throughout the whole series, which major dick move. God, it's so stupid. I don't care if this happened in some random comic book somewhere or what the fuck, but Batman killing somebody's parents and orphaning them is the most out-of-character shit that I think I've ever heard in my entire life. Do these people even know who Batman is? But like I said, it gets worse because all of this could have been resolved in like episode 2 or 3 because Robin knew about this because Batman wrote this stuff in a journal and Robin ripped the pages out of the journal and hid this from Turner throughout the whole series. So they could have gotten through this because Batman had, as much as I don't want to admit it, a legitimate reason for killing them because they were assassins. And Turner even admits, okay, they were assassins trying to kill him. And if he knew that, a lot of things wouldn't have happened or would have gotten fast-tracked. So Robin just hid this for no reason, and it's really stupid, and it just feels like a lazy way they extended the plot. But I'm getting off script, so let me just wrap this Turner section up by saying Turner, outside of his really, really stupid backstory, is kind of a boring character. He's never really that interesting. He's just a blank slate that has all of these insane skills for no reason and a really comedic backstory that makes no sense. Now, I don't know who the actor that played Turner is, and I'm not trying to take shots at them. Maybe they're good in other stuff, but here their performance did not sell me. It came across as very bored. And every time Turner was on screen, it just became a snore fest, and it wasn't really interesting. They try to do some different stuff with his character, but he always has the same bored tone of voice and look throughout the whole show, and it just doesn't work. So Turner got left out of the family business for obvious reasons, but Batman let somebody else into the fold. This is Robin. Now you may be wondering, Dave, why are you showing us a random kid from Spy Kids 3 and not Robin from Gotham Knights? Well, you're not going to believe this, but that's actually what they decided Robin looks like. I don't know who their costume designer was, but they should be fired and exiled to Antarctica. Jesus Christ, this does not look like a Robin suit at all. If you showed me this picture with no context, I would genuinely believe that this was from a Spy Kids movie. The goofy goggles are what does it for me. She has these really dumb Spy Kids glasses that have like AR features, and they just look so dumb, and they're clearly too big for her. And when she's wearing this dumb outfit and these goofy, huge goggles on the battlefield and kicking people who are like 10 times her size across the room, it just makes me feel like I'm watching a combat Oompa Loompa. Say whatever you want about Titans, but at least they knew how to make a Robin suit. Like this Robin suit, this is pretty good. That's a pretty good Robin suit. This is garbage. One thing I can say about Robin is she's not as insufferable as some of the other characters. She tries her best to actually be a good person, despite the plot trying to stop her at every opportunity. And out of all the people here, she has the best excuse for being a super good fighter because she was trained by Batman. But her backstory is equally as stupid as Turner's, and it is just kind of dumb. So essentially, when she was younger, I don't think it specified how long ago it was, but she managed to pull Batman from some rubble, and then after that day, constantly asked Batman at every opportunity to just be his sidekick. Now, Batman, of course, said no over and over because she's the size of a walnut, so obviously you wouldn't want that person being thrown into the line of fire with career criminals equipped with assault rifles. But eventually he did say yes and let this random girl that he just met become Robin. And I think there is one key factor that won him over. One character trait that Robin has that really makes her an asset to the team.
Does everyone have the same hair as me?
Nice reflexes. Thanks.
Are they?
I wonder
gonna
who
be like,
he could be.
like an excuse of like she has good reflexes, therefore she can be like Batman, like a superhero.
She has fantastic reflexes. Now, I called immediately that she was going to be a secret superhero just because of this scene, because I knew that this show was going to come up with a dumb excuse like she has nice reflexes as a reason for why she could be a super soldier. But out of all the lame excuses, you have nice reflexes has to be my personal favorite. That became my excuse for everything in this series. Whenever someone did something so astronomically stupid or impossible, I would just say, God damn, they got some nice reflexes. Turner manages to bank a batarang around a car despite never having thrown a batarang in his life. Nice reflexes. Character who's the size of a peanut kicking another man 10 times their size across the battlefield. Nice reflexes. You could replace every lame excuse for a character's skill level with reflexes, and it would be just about as convincing. Fun fact, I forgot all the characters' names constantly throughout the series, so I came up with nicknames for them, and my nickname for Robin was Reflexes Girl. And I think her real name is Carrie? Carrie, is that it? I'm too lazy to Google it. But speaking of characters' names who I was too lazy to remember, let's talk about the 3 other main characters in the group. The ones who were framed for Batman's murder. The career criminals. These 3 are major characters, and they make up a lot of the problems with the show, because they are awful people. Some worse than others, but they're all terrible in their own ways. First of all, there's this chick here. Forgot her name. I'm just gonna call her Mob Girl for reasons I will reveal later. We can talk about that. She does 2 things throughout this show. Be annoying and get into arguments with people. Mob Girl here is so willing to get into arguments with people and be angry that there is one scene that makes her seem so childish and stupid that I never got over it. So there's this gang called the Mutant Gang, and they're basically like these one-off villains that show up just to cause a problem for one episode. And this is where we get into another new member of the Gotham Knights, Hacker Chick, which is not a nickname I came up with. That's the real nickname they give her in the show. She has her own little storyline, which I'll get into a bit, but for right now, all you need to know is that Hacker Chick is good with technology, and she's also part of a rich family. So, Hacker Chick comes up with a way to defuse this bomb. This way works. How this high school student is a master at defusing bombs, I have no idea. Let's just chalk it up to great reflexes. But you see, Mob Girl is not happy with this. No, because she had a different way to defuse the bomb, which also might work, we don't know. Now, Mob Girl came from a poor family, but is also somehow a super hacker. I guess she learned how to defuse bombs and work with high-grade technology on the streets working for the mob, because the mob does that, I guess. Maybe the Mutant Gang and the mob teamed up and did bomb defusing trials with each other or something. There's no answer I can come up to this that isn't stupid or reflexes or both. In fact, she is so stuck on wanting to defuse the bomb in her own way that after Hacker Chick disables the bomb and saves the lives of countless people, she yells at her and then starts making fun of her for it throughout the series multiple times. Making puns about cutting bomb wires to her face just to be a dick and just getting into arguments with her and acting like an entitled douchebag. It is one of the weirdest forced dramas that I think I've ever seen, and even Hacker Chick is like, dude, that's stupid. I saved dozens of lives and defused a bomb. Why are you mad right now? And the show just doesn't have a good answer. But they kiss later, so I guess it's alright. It was a really weird fighters to lovers situation. I'm not really sure why they decided to go this route. It was just so weird. I might as well get Hacker Chick out of the way right now. So she was friends with Turner in high school. She isn't framed for anything, so she's allowed to be free for most of the series. And she goes into the Batcave, which the way they find the Batcave is equally as stupid, and just goes up to the Bat computer and hacks into the Bat computer and then hacks into every single bank in all of Gotham. Okay. Again, this is a high school student with like a basic level of computers. There's no way she is hacking into the Bat computer and then every bank in Gotham and doing even half of the insane tech stuff she does throughout the rest of the series. I would be fine with this unrealistic, like, super levels of intelligence for these kids if this show was more goofy, like if it was on the goofy side, but it's not trying to be goofy, it's trying to be serious. To show you how serious this show is trying to be, let's go into Hacker Chick's subplot. So Hacker Chick's parents, despite being rich, are abusive, go figure. One of them is a criminal that's getting illegal prescriptions filed, and the other is an addict who's addicted to pills and alcohol. And they have extended scenes of her, like, hiding the pills from her mom and, like, all these dramatic moments that are meant to be very sad. But with how dumb the rest of this show was, I could not take any of these scenes seriously. They were giving me I can't get the cap off vibes.
I can't get the cap off! No!
For instance, there's one scene where Hacker Chick and their mom are having a big blow-up argument, and Mob Girl comes out of absolutely nowhere and then starts lecturing Hacker Chick's mom about deadbeat parents, and it just comes across as so unintentionally comedic that it had me chuckling throughout this whole dramatic scene. One thing I can say about Gotham Knights is it did get more laughs out of me than Titans did, because there are just so many scenes that are so unintentionally funny that I just could not resist giggling out loud sometimes. So I guess that's one thing it has over Titans, although it wasn't intentional. To give a behind-the-scenes example, I was rewatching episode 9 on 2x speed at one point, and there is a scene where Turner is hallucinating. He starts running around Wayne Manor in a way that's Scooby-Doo-esque, with him appearing at different doorways and hallways depending on where he runs. And with the way he runs and on 2x speed, it really did look so comedic that I really wanted to add cartoon sound effects to it. It was so hilarious. Anyway, moving on, Mob Girl has a brother who's trans, and that's about it, so not much to talk about there. I forgot his name, too. It was like... Cullen. That's his name. That is his name, right?
Cullen Rowe.
Really? Because your birth certificate says you were...
Don't use his dead name.
Fine. I got another dead name for him.
Okay.
Bruce Wayne.
I've got another dead name for you, Bruce Wayne.
That was... Oh.
Really?
Okay.
Oh.
I got another dead name for you, Bruce Wayne.
But now, no more funny ha-has, no more funny jokes, because it's time to talk about the elephant in the room. This chick. I called her Quirky Girl throughout the entire show because I forgot her name, but I know her name now. It's Della. And let me tell you something. Della is one of the worst characters I think I have ever seen, bar none. She has been expertly crafted by some of the world's brightest minds, along with the literal hand of God, to create one of the most obnoxious and unlikable characters in all of human history. Every show like this always has one. That one character who's so terrible they stand out from the rest and become the poster child for how awful a show can be. And Della is that character. She is terrible. I don't even know where to begin with this clusterfuck. So, Della is the Joker's daughter, which is as fanficky as it sounds. But she's not actually the Joker's daughter. She's actually Two-Face's daughter. Because, well, long story short, Two-Face is going around tapping every piece of ass he sees in this show. I don't know which writer had the idea of making Harvey Dent a total hoe in this, but he is just going around banging pretty much anything he can get his eyes on. He both went and hooked up with Della's mom and also the main villain of the entire series. And he's been doing it for years.
So put me in, coach. Let me take those bastards out. Let's unleash some of that big dent energy.
Big dent energy. That is a real line that Harvey Dent actually says in this show. I do not even have to say anything about that. The dialogue sure is... well, it's dialogue. But anyway, back to the bitch. So, Della grew up in Arkham. That's right, she was a child that was just kind of tossed into Arkham and they just left her there, which... I get that Gotham City is supposed to be corrupt, but that's like cartoonish levels of corruption. There was just a child hopping and skipping around a bunch of career criminals for potentially years. So this show does the classic sympathy tactic of a terrible person who has a tragic and horrible backstory, so all the terrible things they do are completely explained and acceptable. Yeah, that's totally gonna fly with audiences. I'm sure no one will see through that. I'm sick of saying it, but a tragic backstory does not excuse a character being a total douchebag, and it does not make us like them. Della is just a constant asshole to everybody in the group throughout the entire show, constantly insulting, berating, and belittling them at every single opportunity. Almost everything that comes out of her mouth is constant snark and annoying quips that make me want to throw myself out of a window.
And I'm tired of losing everybody that ever gave a damn about me.
And I'm tired of your constant bitching.
She is such a massive asshole to everyone for no reason, and it gets really grating and annoying as quickly as you think it would. To show how much of a hypocritical douchebag that Della really is, during one of the scenes they managed to break into Wayne Tower again because they're looking for stuff relating to Batman. While Turner and Robin are breaking into the building, Della suggests that they should just abandon Turner and Robin and go sell a watch and live it up somewhere else. The group obviously says no to this because that's stupid, and Della goes on without them, leaving them for dead. And then one of the dumbest fight scenes in human history happens, and I'll get into that in a bit. But they saved Della's life, and in order to give thanks to them, she decides to continue being a massive asshole and abandon them again. During one of the episodes where Turner gets kidnapped, the group decides not to go after him because they don't know where he is at the moment and they could get themselves killed. And when the group says this, Della throws a massive hissy fit and says, "Oh, you guys aren't heroes. You should have saved him. No man left behind." And then after this, she abandons them a third time. She is just a massive hypocritical bitch, belittling everyone around her constantly for no reason whatsoever, and she's a terrible person. And despite all the terrible things she's done, Della is just given chance after chance after chance, and the show continues to paint her as sympathetic and misunderstood. And without a doubt, the best example of this has to be the senior citizen kidnap and torture scene. Now, to be fair, this grandma was a little crazy and related to some of the villains in a way and had information they needed, but that does not excuse the amount of crazy shit that Della decides to do with this person.
This is crazy. Even for you, I know your dad was a villain, but that does not mean you have to be. This is seriously wrong.
No, this is Gotham, and in Gotham, villains get things done. Hey, Eunice, we're gonna get you out of there, okay? But you have to be nice. Down! Do not make me tase you again!
You tase the senior citizen!
And they do proceed to suffocate her, by the way, in a scene that is way too drawn out and way too uncomfortable.
I spent the last half hour in the trunk of a car, and I am convinced you intentionally went over the same speed bump again and again.
Seriously?
What?
What's that, Eunice? I can't hear you. You gotta speak up. Oh, are you having trouble breathing?
So you may be wondering, does she learn anything from this or face some kind of punishment or grow as a person? No. In fact, they make it seem like Robin is the one who learned something from this.
I thought I knew you well, but then you kidnap and try to asphyxiate a nonagenarian. But that ended up being a good thing, because it kept the court from killing Detective Green's family. And then I try to do something nice and get the old bat a glass of water, and I almost get you killed.
Potato, tomato, little bird.
I don't know what that means, Della.
It means it's Gotham, which is another way of saying it's complicated. You're learning.
You cannot make this up. Robin should be kicking this person's ass and throwing them into a jail cell, not working with them and having a flash pep talk. So to put it bluntly, Della is a terrible character, an annoying person, and I wish they were on screen much, much less. The show constantly treats them as sympathetic and gives them chance after chance when it really shouldn't. It's classic narrative gaslighting, trying to make us think this absolute villain is some kind of anti-hero. And that brings me to another issue. A majority of these characters are villains, not heroes. They act like they're the Gotham Knights, the vigilantes who come and save the day, but they commit more crimes than the fucking criminals do. Like, for instance, early on, they go on a burglary spree to steal expensive clothing, and not just clothing that they need and stuff that they need to have because, you know, they're on the run from the law. They decide to start stealing expensive clothing and lip gloss and a bunch of stuff they don't even need. And then in an awkward situation, Robin shows up and is like, "Hey, I got a burglary report. I'm coming to stop some criminals," and then finds out that they're actually the criminals. I really wish it just ended up with her reflexing all over their faces and tossing them in prison again, but unfortunately it's not that kind of story. And the best part is the excuse they give for why their robberies are totally justified.
It back.
Right. Just as soon as the store pays back all the child labor they exploited to make this stuff.
Well, you know, if you victimize the victimizer, then it's a victimless crime.
Ah, of course. If you victimize a victimizer, it's a victimless crime. Hey, Warner Brothers, you know, the people who own DC and Batman and allowed this show to exist. You know how you constantly copyright strike people's videos, take money from them just because they use like seconds of footage from your stuff? According to the logic of this show that you allowed to exist because they're using your property, we should be allowed to take stuff from you because if you victimize a victimizer, it's a victimless crime. How much you want to bet the YouTube bots are not going to see it the same way when they strike this video instantly and I have to spend hours re-editing it? I am so fucking sick of these massive corporations telling us and lecturing us about how bad capitalism is. Yeah, we figured that out, thanks to you. These preachy and lame excuses for these characters to commit constant crimes are just annoying, that's it. If you want the characters to be heroic, have them act heroic, not like career criminals. And if you are going to have them act like crazy career criminals who kidnap grandmas and rob stores, then treat them as such. Stop framing them as sympathetic. And speaking of things that are downright criminal, this is the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed. Now you may be saying, but Dave, wait a moment, don't you have a bunch of other loose ends to wrap up, like the whole mob girl situation, the worst fight scene in the world, and so many other things about this show you want to talk about? Well, don't you worry, because I'll talk about that in my next video about Gotham Knights. And if you want a week's early access to that whenever I decide to make it and upload it, you can check out my Patreon. Also, here are the patrons who managed to support me before this video came out. If you join up with my Patreon, you get access to several benefits, including early access to the video, so go check it out if you think it's worthwhile. In my next video, whenever that comes out, I'm going to start talking about the main villains, the Court of Owls, oh boy, along with the worst scene in the entire universe. Along with several other tidbits, so stick around for that. But as for now, this has been Dave, and remember...
Let's unleash some of that big, dent energy.